Thank you, Chair. You and I had a discussion about the importance of being responsive, especially to the minority, and I want to have that conversation with you. But before we get there, I do want to ask a couple questions that I think are relevant. Chairman, in April, Chairman McHenry and I sent you a letter regarding your proposal impacting mutual funds and retirement savings. We expressed our concerns with the inherent unfairness of creating a two-tiered market that would significantly impact retirement savers at a time. Interesting. Even God's upset with this. At a time when so many are struggling with rampant inflation, not to mention that your liquidity risk recharacterization of mutual funds would significantly alter investment strategies for everyday retail investors. It's saying something when a proposal like yours brings a large and diverse group of stakeholders out against it. Given the current SEC's tendency towards rushing to finalize rules, my fear is that you will finalize this proposal without properly addressing my concerns and the concerns of so many in the industry, as well as those of the retirees and the customers. Or worse, finalize this rule or proposal with an entirely new structure like we've seen in the money market fund reforms rule. Are you willing to rescind this proposal so as to not create a two-tiered system and unfair advantage for large swaths of investors?
As we move forward with this, considering this, we got a lot of comments, as you said, about this proposal. It's about open-end funds, mutual funds, as most people would call it, and to ensure for their, at times of stress, that their pricing matches up when somebody redeems from a mutual fund, that the remaining shareholders in that mutual fund aren't bearing what's called dilution. We got a lot of comments, including your letter with Chair McHenry, which we appreciate. And we'll make considered choices based on the economics and, as you said, based upon ensuring that investors' interests come first.
I think it's incredibly important, and I bring that up because as a guy who used to sell mutual funds, I see the challenges that will be presented to customers who are purchasing those mutual funds, and frankly, the two-tiered system that I'm talking about. But relatedly, despite your reassurances that the public, especially the millions of everyday investors most directly impacted by these proposals, would have sufficient opportunity to provide feedback through the notice and comment process, your agency provided just over 90 days to sift through nearly 1,700 pages of 4 proposed rules wrapped into one proposal. This same proposal included roughly 1,200 questions from your staff for industry feedback. If you have over 1,000 questions, I fail to see how you can say with a straight face that you have issued a proposed rule and not a request for information. Do you think 90 days is a reasonable amount of time for the average investor or small business to digest a complex proposal that includes 4 rulemakings, including by answering roughly 1,200 questions, again, in just 90 days?
I feel very proud of the agency and the work to comply with the Administrative Procedures Act, to seek that public comment in the equity market proposals. As you mentioned, we voted them in December of last year. We kept the public comment file open until March, the end of March, so 100 plus days from when we put it on our website. And we continue to get meetings and comments, and the staff takes those into consideration as well.
I'll just say that 1,200 questions for small businesses, investors to answer in a 90-day window seems a bit of a high bar. But the Dodd-Frank Act required about 400 rules from financial regulators, and 67 of those would come from the SEC. Today, it seems like we are living in the twilight zone, asking people to comply to unrealistic timeframes with too many questions, and frankly, as you can tell, too many rules from my perspective. According to the Committee on Capital Markets under your leadership, the SEC has put forward 47 proposals, adopted 22 of them in the first several months of your leadership. What's even more troubling is these rules stand to completely change our capital market structure, which benefits the average investor more today than at any other point in history. The breakneck pace you are pumping out regulations should not be applauded. The regulations the SEC has proposed under your leadership are unjustified and are sowing discord and confusion for industry and market participants alike. How do you square your mission, which includes maintaining fair, orderly, and efficient markets, with the upheaval of market functioning you aim to create? Now, I only have 10 seconds for your answer because he's getting ready to cut me off.
I thank you. I would note we take our three-part mission very seriously, but Bloomberg Law recently wrote an article that said we're actually behind three predecessors, Chair Clayton, Chair Shapiro, and Chair Pitt, that in those 22 final rules, that we're fourth out of all three of my predecessors did more final rules in their first 2 years and 4 months. We take this very seriously. We're not working against a clock. It tends to take 12 to 24 months if we were to finalize a rule. We've reopened 18 of the rules. There will be changes in most of these rules based on public comment and economic feedback.
Thank you. I know that
Thank you.
went over time. Thank you for your
Senator Menendez. Senator Menendez.